Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I'm your host as always, Professor Prime. Not long ago, I had my mom suggest to me to do a video about math in everyday life. This came about because we were talking about math in everyday life, and so I feel like that's appropriate. And given what I tend to talk about on this channel, having a dedicated video for that makes sense. Like I have my Math in the World series where I talk about math and how it's used in different ways, right? So I feel like making a video where I can get into it, like math in everyday life, it feels like it'll be great. So let's get into it. All right, so, right, with math, it is everywhere and in everything. And you may have been taught that, you may not have. A lot of people, I don't feel like we have. But in any case, right, it's in our food, it's in our music, it's in our clothing, it's everywhere. Like, when I think about food, for instance, I have to think about, um, you know, my portion size. I have to think about how much I'm buying. I have to think about the nutritional value. And, there's money in all of that. And if I'm cooking the food, I have to think about that. If I'm getting fast food, I have to think about that as well. And if I'm cooking, I have to think about, the ingredients, the amount of ingredients, how, how I have to cook things on, for how long I have to cook things on. If I'm like getting food, and if I'm getting fast food, for instance, I have to decide what I want to get, how much it's going to cost, what is the damage going to be nutritionally speaking, and what I want to do with that, right? And again, there's math and all of that. If I'm driving around, I have to consider how fast I'm going to be going. I have to consider how much gas is in my tank, how much is going to be used up. I have to consider where I'm going, how long it will take, and with how fast I'm going, how that affects that. If I'm using my phone, there's like a lot of math going on behind the scenes. If I'm using that to like help me find where I'm going, right, and figure out the best route to go for me. So there's a lot of math in that, right? There's a lot of math if you're working, right? First and foremost, we're getting paid, right? That's the idea. So ideally, you would get a job that's paying you appropriately for your work. That doesn't always happen, unfortunately, but that would be ideal. Either way, you're considering money, and there's math in that, right? There's math in the money. There's math in how much time you work. There's math in whatever you're doing at the work, no matter what you're doing. You could dissect that, and that's great to me. There's math in our clothing. There's math in like the different sizes of that clothing. There's math in the different fabrics. There's math in the patterns. There's math in what those like fabrics are composed of. There's math in how much those clothings cost and how we choose to wear them and display them. There's math in our hair, like how it grows, how much we choose to let it grow. If we're getting a haircut, like if we're going out to get it cut, there's math and how much a haircut costs. If we're cutting on it our own, it's free, but there's math in how much the equipment costs, right? And even though it's free, there's going to be time for us to clean it up afterwards. So we got to consider that. Whereas we might not consider that time, so there's a trade-off, right? But that's cool. And no matter how you cut it, you get to decide how long it is going to be before you have a haircut, right? So there's math in all those things. There's math in music. There's math in music just all over the place. Music is very mathematical. It's very structured. If you get into music theory, you'll know exactly what I mean if you're already in it or if you like look into it further, right? So not only is there math in it, it's just in structure and it's like inherent in there. There's math in how you're composing it. There's math in how you're listening to it. There's math in the money, math in the deals. Math on how long the songs are and albums and album structures and how you want to get that across. It's crazy how it goes, right? And like with any given item, whether it be like clothing, or a phone or a folder, They usually have like just different numbers that indicate different things, like a product number, serial number, whatever you have on it, right? And this helps people keep track of things. And if you're online, a lot of us are, and you're buying things online, there's so many things to consider with that, right? Like say if you're on Amazon, for instance, right? You got your phone number, you got your address, all have like a math in that. That's how we're keeping track of things. You have different items, and they have different product numbers and different ways to keep track of them. They cost different things. They have, rating systems, 1 to 5 stars. There's math in all of that, and how all those items are made, and how they get to you, right? There's a lot of math in the logistics and the money involved in making it all happen. Shall I go on? Yes, I shall go on. So, gaming, whether you're on a cell phone, PC, or on a console, there's math in all of it. Not only is there math in making the games work, right, and math in getting them to you, like there's a lot of math behind the scenes, right, but there's a lot of math in playing them. When I think about a lot of games, there's a lot of resource management, right, and there's a lot of math in that. There's a lot of math in the gameplay for these games, right, like because whether you have a combat game, a racer, a puzzle game, what have you, there's going to be math in how that gameplay works, right? There's going to be math in the scoring, there's going to be math in the races and the laps, and how all that works. If you're fighting, there's going to be math in the damage, there's going to be math in the weapons, there's going to be math in leveling up, whatever there is, there's going to be math in it. And I've done entire series, and I'm continuing to do entire series on just that stuff. But yeah, so it's like there's a lot of math in just all of that stuff. And then you got to figure, right? We use math to organize our life all the time. Like, right? We live our life organized by time, right? We keep track of ourselves via age. We keep track of our daily life. We extend that to weekly, monthly, yearly, and we go about our business. And there's math in all that. And I know, like, some of us think that, we had this idea of, like, oh, that's not math. We're just going out doing our thing, and that's just how we keep track of things. No, that's math, right? There's no getting around that. And I think it would be helpful to realize what math actually is, because, like, there's math on the academic level, which is an extension of what we already do. Math is universal. I do it. You do it. The universe is doing it. The stuff that we're learning in class, that's the language side of it. That's the problem solving side of it. It is a small fraction of a larger whole. The truth is, we use math every day and in every way. And I think that's really cool. And what's interesting to me is that we try to like silo things out. We try to like put math over here, like math and STEM over here, and like reading, writing, and arts over there. And that's insane to me, because when I think of math, like I said, we have math in the academic sense, and that's the writing side of it. That's the language side of it. So you can't really divorce reading from it. And when you're problem solving, there's an art to it. And speaking of art, there is a lot of math in art. There's a lot of structure in art. Like, I know, we think that, oh, logic and creativity are these separate things. They feed into each other. They work beautifully together. When you see these, like, magical, like, pieces of art, they took structure, they took math, and they worked with it, right? There's a lot of geometry and a lot of different art. And there's a lot of, math behind making everything work. And that's really cool. Because, like, whether you're looking at a visual piece, a piece of gaming, a musical piece, writing, there's a lot of math in that and how it all works and functions. And that's really cool. And so it's like you can't really divorce any of that. And also, like, fractal art is a beautiful thing. Fractals are something that are found in nature all the time. And so I think it's really cool because, right, like, there's a lot of, like, reading and writing and art in math. We use that to talk about what's happening with the universe. But then there's also, like, a lot of math in art, right? That's what I want people to take away from it, and, like, that we're using it every day, every way, right? And it's really cool. And with fractals, like, it's another story for another day, but things like snowflakes, trees branching off, stuff like that, right? you take that sort of idea in nature where it's like it's very mathematical, and there's like art that deals with stuff like that, and it's very beautiful. And speaking of nature, right, we like to know what's going on with the weather, right? And there's a lot of math in that, right? That's straight up chaos theory, all right? Because like we're not psychic, and we don't pretend to be, but we can have a good idea of what's going to happen with the weather, and we can pivot pretty like well when we get changes to figure out what's going to happen or what could happen. So that's what's not like, you know, when you see the weather, it's chaos theory in action. But like, even if you don't get to see like the math that's happening with the chaos theory, you're seeing the results, right? Because like we're looking at temperatures, we're looking at air pressure, you know, we're looking at rainfall and things like that, and it's all kept track of numerically. We are using math all the time, even if we feel like it's small. It's math. Even if we're not doing it consciously, it's math. You don't have to do like insane levels of calculus to you know, do math. And if you're wondering what kind of insane levels of calculus I'm thinking of calculus of variations, you know, calculus in infinite dimensions. That's another story for another day, but it's fun stuff. But even if you're not doing that in that academic sense, that doesn't mean you're not doing a bunch of crazy math. You just don't know that you're doing it. And I think that's something that gets lost. Like the truth is, right, we haven't adjusted how we teach math to the modern age. And I think that's a shame. Because the truth is, we do a lot of math behind the scenes, and we don't talk about that, right? Like, we develop all these techniques, and then it's like, okay, so it's supposed to make our lives easier. It's supposed to like tell us something about the universe. But then like a lot of stuff ends up getting automated. A lot of stuff ends up getting kind of like hidden, pushed away, not really talked about. And that's a shame. And the other thing is we have an idea of what we think math is as a society, so we don't think about all of other stuff. Like we don't get into the, oh, hey, when I'm cooking, when I'm doing this, I'm actually doing math. When I'm gaming, I'm actually doing math. When I'm driving, I'm actually doing math. We don't think about that. And I think about, like, I'm sorry, and I think if we introduce that stuff in class more, that would change things. And that's the kind of thing I think about when I think about some of the things that I want to push down the line. Because showing people what math actually is could undo a lot of the damage that has been done with math. Because like a lot of people hate math, and yeah, I get that. Because we don't tell people what it is, and we make them feel horrible for not doing what we want them to do with it when we haven't given them much context. Like we get right up to the point and then miss it entirely, right? Because when we get to something like algebra, where a lot of people get lost, it's like, you know, we give people a lot of equations, we give them a lot of algorithms, and we just tell them, oh yeah, you should do this. Oh, what? You're having difficulty with it? Oh, you guess you just don't know math. And that's like, that's wrong. It's wrong. And we don't tell them that algebra is representing stuff that's out there. We don't tell them that algebra is literally about representation. We don't tell them that they're doing math the whole time. We don't tell them that they're natural mathematicians. We don't tell them that you can't be bad at math because you can't be bad at something that you are doing all the time, naturally, beautifully. We don't tell people that. We don't tell people that they're doing math every day and in every way. And I want to change that. With that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you walked away with a different perspective. And if you want to add to the conversation, please do. I'll see you in the next one. Professor Prime out.